tour to the stars' homes. It's going to take 2 hours.
And we'll keep you informed.
Yeah.
The church or the movie Sister Act. A good look at it. On the left-hand side, where those 2 Dalmatians are sitting on top of, that is the El Capitan movie theater. Can everybody see that up there on the left-hand side? Yeah, and it's owned by Disney. And that is where Disney premieres all of its movies. Right now you can see 101 Dalmatians. It premiered, about 3 weeks ago. All the stars were out for that. Now they only show Disney movies there. And so there's not a Disney movie out. The theater isn't used. Actually, about 6-7 years ago, they were going to tear it down. It was in really bad shape. Disney came in, bought the theater, completely restored it back to its original condition, and reopened it. Thank God they did, because it really is a nice old theater. It would have been a shame to lose it here. When the police came along and arrested him, took him off to jail with Divine Brown. Now, she made a lot of money out of that deal. You remember? Yep. After they were arrested, she became quite rich. She got paid $100,000 to do a TV interview. She got paid then $250,000 to go to Brazil and Europe and do TV commercials. And Hugh Grant gave her $40. So she made a lot of money out of that deal, let me tell you. That's brand new. That is the House of Blues, owned by Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd had that club built about 3 years ago, and they do a TV show out of there on Friday nights called Live from the House of Blues. What you're looking at is actually the souvenir shop. Most of the club is underground, so you can't really see, but it is quite large. So you might want to check it out if you have the time, maybe eat some dinner there and catch a show while you're... This used to be the Playboy Club right there, and Playboy had its offices there until Hugh Hefner retired a few years back. His daughter took over and moved everything out to Beverly Hills. Dome. Right here to the left of us, and it's an expensive restaurant owned by Elton John and Rod Stewart. That is the backside to Spago's restaurant, and it's owned by Wolfgang Puck. And that is the place for celebrities to have dinner. In just a moment, it's a little black building, and this is the Viper Room. And it's owned by Johnny Depp, and it was here about 3 years ago. A young actor by the name of River Phoenix died of a drug overdose right in front. And it's there on the left-hand side, the Viper Room. See it? Doesn't look like much from the outside, but that's it. And on the right-hand side, coming up, this is called the Whiskey, formerly the Whiskey A Go-Go, just to the right of us. And it was there that Goldie Hawn was actually discovered as a go-go dancer back in the 60s. Also, Jim Morrison's band, the Doors, were discovered there. The Beatles played there at one time, even Elvis. They were married for a short time, and while they were for about 6 months, they lived in that house. When they got divorced, they sold the house. Now, Marilyn had had the house painted pink, and it was pink up until just a couple of years ago when the new owners finally decided to repaint it, kind of tone it down a little bit. You remember the old 1960s TV show Batman? That was also Wayne Manor. And that's where Bruce Wayne lived in the old Batman TV show with Adam West. Now, it's owned by the city of Beverly Hills, so nobody lives up there. It's actually a park. And all they really use it for are weddings, and they do a lot of filming, like TV shows and movies up there. Captain Kirk lives just to the right of us. Is Star Trek pretty big back in Israel and England and stuff?
Yeah, it is in England, yeah.
It is? Yeah, that's Captain Kirk's house. It's Cary Grant. I'm going to pull up so you get a better look at it. You can see it through this gate here. And this was the former home of Cary Grant. It now belongs to Irwin Winkler, and he's a very famous producer. He brought us all of the Rocky movies with Sylvester Stallone. And this was the one that he lived in. Looks like an office building. On the right-hand side, the last home of Dean Martin. Pretty interesting looking house, huh? This house belonged to Max Factor, just to the right. This was his guest house. He had a bigger house for himself up the road. But Max Factor put his guests up in this house. Not too bad.
No.
He was a pretty gracious host. My guests sleep on my luxurious floor. So, not quite as nice as what he used to do. Beverly Hills Hotel, owned by the Sultan of Brunei. He bought this hotel 7 years ago at a cost of $185 million. Yeah. You can see in the back the famous bungalows back here. This is where Elizabeth Taylor had 6 of her 7 honeymoons, in these bungalows. Johnny Carson, when he was divorced, lived back there for a while. Warren Beatty, a lot of celebrities at one time or another have stayed in the bungalows. They're very private. They start at $3,000 a night. And if you keep looking on the left-hand side, this house, right here, just to the left of us, this is owned by the Sultan of Brunei. He had it built right after he bought the hotel. So that is the house of the richest man in the world. He was actually in town last weekend. He saw the security guys were out in front. It was in Pretty Woman, Internal Affairs, American Gigolo, a lot of movies. He moved in there after him and Cindy Crawford split up a few years back. She kept the house they were in, and he moved over here. And speaking of Richard Gere, if you ever saw the movie American Gigolo, this White House just to the right of us was used in that movie. The inside and the outside were both shot for the movie. Might look familiar. The next house you're going to see, it's going to be on the right-hand side. Coming up, it's a brick house, kind of set back a little bit. This is the current home of Steve Martin. Right there to the right of us. Funny man, Steve Martin lives right there. Did you ever see the movie Get Shorty?
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah,
Well, if you look on the left-hand side, this house was used in the movie Get Shorty. There was a scene where John Travolta and Rene Russo pulled right up front of this house in a minivan. They called it the Cadillac of minivans in the movie. In the movie, they went inside, and the house was owned by Danny DeVito. Yeah. Also, if you saw the movie The Beverly Hillbillies a few years ago, a lot of the scenes were shot right at this house. They also used a house with a long driveway, but some of the scenes were shot right here. Eyes on that wall. It takes up an entire block right here in the heart of Beverly Hills, and it's all owned by one house. When we come around to the front gate, I'm going to tell you who lived there. But until we get there, just keep an eye on the walls so you'll see just how big this one piece of property is. He was a very, very funny old comedian. Anybody want to guess?
Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplin, close.
We didn't guess Charlie Chaplin.
Close. I'll give you a hint. Rumor was he did not like children.
Mike?
Remember what old comedian didn't like working with children?
W.C. Fields?
Well, I think I heard it back there.
W.C. Fields.
Yeah, that's it. This is the former estate of W.C. Fields. And here's the gate right into it. Right there. Yeah, see the house you're looking at right beyond the gate? That's actually the servants' quarters. The main house is up on the hillside. You can't even see it. But this is W.C. Field's old house. What he used to do, he used to put a stool, a chair, right in the driveway. And he would sit there with a shotgun. And when the tour buses came by, he'd fire the shotgun. He thought it was kind of funny to scare the tour buses. But yeah, that was his old house. Charles Bronson lives right there on the left-hand side. Charles Bronson made all those Death Wish movies. Kind of looks like a spaceship, a little bit. Former home at Dean Martin. Nancy Sinatra, one of Frank Sinatra's daughters, and she sang the song, "These Boots Are Made for Walking." She was also in Playboy a couple of years back. That's her house. Barbara Eden, right here to the right. You can almost touch her front door. Should we park here and wait till she comes out? No? And if you look across the street and to the left, that pinkish color house, that is the current home of Elizabeth Taylor. That is Elizabeth Taylor's house right there. She moved in there just recently. She got divorced, and she bought and moved into this house. And if you keep looking on the left-hand side and up on the hillside here, this older house up above us, that is the former home of Charlie Chaplin up there. I'm going to pull up so you get a good look at the front of it. Other stars liked it up here so much, they started buying property, and it kind of caught on. Beverly Hills became the center of the entertainment industry for all the stars to live. And that's where it all started, right there on our left-hand side, the old Pickfair Mansion. It's now owned by Pia Zadora. You know Pia Zadora, the singer and dancer?
Yeah.
Yeah, she lives up there now. Kind of sad, but after he died, the IRS took the house. He owed a lot of money in back taxes. And the IRS made his wife move out, and they sold the house. This house that I'm going to show you now belongs to one of the stars.
Jason Priestley?
No, keep going.
Sharon Doherty?
Nope.
Is it current star or?
I don't think he's on anymore.
Luke Perry?
Luke.
Bingo.
Yeah.
On the left-hand side, this is a current home of Luke Perry.
No, he's not made it yet then, has he?
That's his house right to the left of us. The British actor. Michael Caine lives in this house just to the left of us. That is Michael Caine's home right there. And if you look to the right, see this home back there on the right-hand side? That is the last home of Danny Kaye. Remember Danny Kaye, the very popular singer, dancer, comedian, actor?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his home up until his death. About 10 years ago or so. We're going to take a right turn here on the Roxbury. And a lot of very famous people have and still do live on this street here. The first one, it's going to be on the right-hand side, coming up. This is the current home of Kirstie Alley of the TV show Cheers, just to the right of us. Also, if you remember the old TV show Bewitched, remember Endora?
Yeah.
Agnes Moorehead. That was her old house. Years ago. And if you keep looking to the right, this is the current home of Rosemary Clooney, just to the right of us. Her nephew is George Clooney, the star of ER, the next Batman.
Oh yeah. I knew the name. He's the one that got voted top sexiest, didn't he?
Yeah.
Above David.
Above your man,
Yeah.
yeah.
To the left of us, this modern-looking house is the current home at Chevy Chase. That's Chevy Chase's house on the left-hand side. He made all those vacation movies and all types of comedies. Now, this guy has lived here for over 20 years. Very popular TV star. He is and was Columbo. Peter Falk. Lives right there on the left-hand side. Nice looking house, what do you say?
Yeah.
And one of my favorite old comedians lived in this house on the left-hand side. He had it built in 1938. And he lived there for over 30 years. Jack Benny. That was Jack Benny's old house on the left-hand side. Now, Jack used to make a lot of jokes about living next door to Lucille Ball. Well, the thing was, they weren't jokes, because this house right next door on the left-hand side, this is the old Lucille Ball house. Yeah, Lucy and Desi bought this house in 1955, and they lived there. They ended up getting divorced. Desi moved out, but Lucy stayed, and she raised the kids in this house. And she lived here up until her death, about 1989. The new owners are doing a little remodeling. It used to be a nice white brick looking house. And the new owners, I think, kind of made it look a little generic. Lucy had it look a little nicer. You remember that old I Love Lucy episode? Do you folks ever watch I Love Lucy?
Yeah.
Remember that old episode where she was taking a tour by the Stars' homes, and she got out of the tour bus and she wanted to pick a grapefruit off of Richard Widmark's tree? You remember that one?
No.
Yeah, there's one, and she got caught in his den by Richard Widmark and Ricky. Anyways, they filmed it right at this house. She actually used her own house to do the scene at. And the tour bus came right up to the corner here, and Lucy and Ethel jumped out here at the corner and went inside. Now, this next house on the left-hand side, he's lived here for over 50 years. Legendary old actor. It is the current home of Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy Stewart, right there on the left.
He's got his Holly wreath.
Star It's a Wonderful Life and a lot of other movies. And that's his home. He's not doing too well these days. He's kind of old, and we don't really see him coming or going ever. Dean Martin's partner, Jerry, lived there back in the 60s when he had a family and a lot of small children. Frank Sinatra, Mia Farrow house. And if you look on the left-hand side, this is a current home of Mick Jagger of the Rolling Stones. He lives in that house right there. Now you're going to want to get a shot of this one. Yeah, everybody does. That's because this is the Beverly Hills home, or was the Beverly Hills home of Elvis Presley.
Wow.
King of rock and roll, right there. He lived there until 1975, when he sold it to Telly Savalas. You'll remember played Kojak on TV. It's now owned by Dick Van Patten. You might remember him as the father on 8 is Enough. See the cabana in the backyard? Can you see that cabana back there?
What is a cabana?
Yeah, I had somebody on my tour last week. Swore they saw Elvis under the cabana. I don't know, what do you think?
Maybe when he got older.
I don't know, I had my doubts, but he said he saw him there. I kept one eye on the road and one eye on him the rest of the tour.
Well, that thing with the crisscross thing.
The next home, it's going to be on the left-hand side. It's the former home of one of those big-time movie stars. Right here on the left-hand side, the former home of Mr. Burt Reynolds. Burt lived there with his ex-wife, Lonnie Anderson. They got divorced and sold the house, but that was where they lived. Burt Reynolds. And if you keep looking on the left-hand side, this is the former home of George Harrison. One of the Beatles right there on the left-hand side. It's now owned by an art dealer. And if you keep looking to the left, he built himself a museum on his property. Yeah, his own personal museum right there.
One way.
And look at his mailbox. Keep looking to the left. Look at his mailbox. Can you see that?
Wow.
Only an art dealer. Hello? Yeah. Hey, Sonny, what's up?
Camper van. Is she going camping?
What's that?
Nothing mentioned that one too. You pick up anything?
And if you look on the right-hand side, this is it, right here. Pretty odd looking, huh? See this green door? This is his front door, believe it or not. That's Charlie Sheen's front door. Yeah, there's something you don't see every day. Somebody builds a wall in front of the house. This is going to be the home, the Beverly Hills home of Mike Tyson. Was heavyweight champion. Not anymore. So that's Tyson's house right there. Now, as I come by here, look to the left and look at the house all the way in the back there. Can you see that house in the back there on the left-hand side? That is the current home of Sean Connery. Yeah, James Bond. Now, one of the James Bonds lives up there. He has a couple of homes around the world. But when he's in LA, that's where he's at. When I make my left turn here, look back on the left-hand side and look up on the hillside. And you're going to see just how big Tyson's house is going to be. When I make my turn, just look back there.
Show a bit already, isn't it? Someone took signs saying crooked. It's crooked doves or something, but I think it's
Mm.
Well, this home belonged to Johnny Weissmuller. And you might remember him as Tarzan. In the old Tarzan movies, he was also an Olympic swimmer. And he built himself a swimming pool around his house that encircled the entire house, kind of like a moat. Look to the left there. Can you see that pool?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a moat encircling the entire house. Keep looking down there as I circle around. You're going to see this swimming pool circling around the backyard there. Yeah, see that down there? Pretty interesting, huh? He would have big lavish Hollywood parties and everybody would come to them and they'd get him to swim the length of the pool. Now sadly, the house sat empty and it's in a court battle over who owns it, and it burned down about 4 years ago. That's the house on the left-hand side. Yeah, kind of sad. Kind of just fallen apart over the last 4 years. There's a brick house just to the left of us. This is the current home of Candace Bergen. Murphy Brown lives right there to the left of us. And the next house you're going to see, it's also on the left-hand side. It's under construction. When it's completed, he'll be moving in here. It belongs to Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer, up-and-coming actor.
Batman.
He was in The Island of Dr. Moreau. He was Batman. Right there on the left-hand side. He's also dating Cindy Crawford. Not too shabby. A new house in Beverly Hills and Cindy Crawford. Wow. Of Robert De Niro. Just to the left of us. This is De Niro's house right here.
Well, that's great.
See those plants in his front yard? That's asparagus. Yeah, he has asparagus in his front yard.
Asparagus? Ah, here.
And if you look on the right-hand side, this is the one I was telling you about. This is the Aaron Spelling Mansion, owned by mega producer Aaron Spelling. It's valued at $48 million. It's over 56,000 square feet. He lives there with himself, his wife, and their son. Their daughter, Tori Spelling, moved out about a year ago. Got her own place. He has just about everything you could ever want in this house. He has a gymnasium, a movie theater, a bowling alley, swimming pool, tennis courts, washer and dryer, dishwasher,
I can live here.
garbage disposal, everything you could want in a house right there. It was actually located on the old site of Bing Crosby's house. And this next one I'm going to show you, it's a very famous mansion up here. Look to the right, but up on the hillside in front of us. You can't see much of it, but this is the famous Playboy Mansion. This is where Hugh Hefner lives, just to the right, through those gates. Hefner lives there with his wife, and they have some small children. We're going to circle around the back, and you'll be able to see a little bit more of it. The next house is going to be on the right-hand side. She had it built 2 years ago at a cost of $30 million. Very popular singer. It is the current home of Janet Jackson, just to our right.
Wow.
What do you think? Not too shabby?
Interesting marble effect.
And if you look on the right-hand side, another one of the old Hollywood legends lived here for many years, just to the right of us. This is the former home of Humphrey Bogart. Yeah, that's Bogart's old house. He was just rated by Entertainment Magazine as the #1 movie star of all time. Yeah, pretty impressive. And if you look to the left, this is a former home of Johnny Carson's sidekick, Ed McMahon. Right there to the left of us. That's Ed McMahon's old house. Just to the left of us. The star of Basic Instinct, The American President, Fatal Attraction, Romancing the Stone. That's his house right there. And if you look on the right-hand side where you see the ivy here, this is the back side to the Playboy Mansion. Right here. This is all Hugh Hefner's place. Now look at the rock as we go by here. Look at this rock. See the speaker in the rock? See that right there? See the speaker? Yeah, that's what you talk into. You get into the Playboy Mansion. Pretty cool. And if you keep looking on the right-hand side, there's a brick driveway right here to the right of us in this house. Just to the right, this is the former home of Roger Moore. You know the guy that played James Bond? Roger Moore right there. Called it the Pink Palace. We're on Sunset, so I can't really slow down, but the next house you're going to see, it's going to be on the right-hand side. It is the former home of Judy Garland and the current home of Bill Cosby. Look to the right of us where you see the statues, right here, just to the right. That house back there, that's Cosby's. Yeah, he was actually the one that put in all the statues. Right here, the old Bugsy Siegel house. Now you see the windows on the ground floor to the right, the oval-shaped ones? It was there that the hitmen stood outside of. And Bugsy Siegel was in his living room right there, and they shot him through those windows and killed him. Right there. His business partners thought he had stolen money while building the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas, so they had him killed. Nobody really knows if he ever did actually steal the money, but he got killed for it. So, what are you gonna do? On the right-hand side, this is the current home of Denzel Washington, just to the right of us. That is Denzel Washington's house. He lives there with his wife, and they have 4 small children. He's not in the garage there by chance, is he? No?
It's not him.
Huh. We see him occasionally, kind of coming and going. His driveway is right in front. So it's one of those few houses that we can actually, you know, see when he leaves and gets out of his car. We usually see him. Very funny guy, one of my favorite filmmakers. That's a green Edsel he has parked in front of his car, and he never drives it. I don't even know if it runs, because I see him in other cars, but never that one. So I think he just has it parked in front of the house for show. Kind of decoration. Very funny movie. And it's called The Regent Beverly Wilshire. And it's straight ahead of us. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. It's kind of a nice day out today. I'm going to pull over here, and I'll let you folks get out. We'll say like 10, let me say like 10, 15 minutes. Give you a little chance to kind of walk around, stretch your legs, do a little window shopping, maybe get something to drink if you like, and then live. And the opening credits to the Beverly Hillbillies every week.
It was in black and white though then, wasn't it? You haven't listened to a story about it, man.
Look at those palm trees that they've got.
That's
The short one and the big one. Short one, big one, short one, big one.
Great though, but
This angle it made it look like there was ones coming out the top.
In that hotel, they have a restaurant called the Polo Lounge. You might have heard of it. It's very well known, very famous, Polo Lounge. And it's there that many big Hollywood deals are closed. It's also a very popular restaurant and bar. If you go there at night, you can kick back and have a couple of drinks, and you always see the stars coming in and out. It's kind of fun. And it's called the Polo Lounge. It was named the Polo Lounge back many years ago when Will Rogers, remember Will Rogers? He used to go play polo, and afterwards he'd swing by the Beverly Hills Hotel and hang out at the lounge. On the left-hand side, that big house is a former home of Cecil B. DeMille. Remember Cecil B. DeMille, the famous movie maker. And if you keep looking on the left-hand side, not on this corner, but the opposite corner, that was the childhood home of Shirley Temple, right there to the left of us. Shirley Temple. And if you keep looking on the left-hand side, this big house, you can't really see much of it, but this on the corner right here, just to the left of us, that big house back there is the current home of Phil Collins. That's Phil Collins' house there on the left-hand side, back a ways.
See the chimney.
Yeah.
Very famous singer. To the right of us, the Hotel Argyle. Also, if you ever saw the movie The Player with Tim Robbins, there was a scene they shot out by the pool where a couple of screenwriters were trying to sell Tim Robbins on a movie they wanted to do. It's been in a number of other movies and TV shows.